Vanessa worked at a high-end hair salon in the city, where she was well known for her talent as a stylist. Her clients adored her, often leaving glowing reviews online and returning for her charming personality as much as her skill with scissors. Nathan had always been proud of her success. He liked to imagine her in the sleek salon, chatting with clients as she worked her magic. It was a point of pride for him to have such a talented wife. But one sunny afternoon, a phone call would unravel everything Nathan thought he knew about his marriage. Nathan was at his desk, putting the finishing touches on a client's website, when his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and saw the name Trish, Vanessa's coworker and closest friend at the salon. Nathan frowned. Trish rarely called him, and when she did, it was usually about something lighthearted, like planning a surprise for Vanessa. "Hey, Trish," he said, picking up the call. "What's up?" There was a pause on the other end, followed by a nervous laugh. "Nathan, I don't know how to say this, but you need to come to the salon. Right now." "Why? What's going on?" "It's Vanessa," Trish said, her voice hesitant. "Something's happening. I think you need to see it for yourself." Nathan's heart began to race. "What do you mean? Is she okay?" "She's fine," Trish said quickly, "but you need to get here. Trust me." Nathan grabbed his keys and headed to the car, his mind racing with possibilities. Trish's cryptic words had put him on edge, and the urgency in her voice told him this wasn't something minor. The drive to the salon felt like it took an eternity, though it was only 20 minutes. Nathan replayed the conversation in his head, trying to decipher what Trish might have meant. As he pulled into the parking lot, he spotted Trish standing near the entrance, her arms crossed and her face tense. "Nathan," she said as he approached. "Trish, what's going on?" he demanded. "Where's Vanessa?" Trish hesitated, glancing back toward the salon. "She's inside." "But Nathan, you're not going to like what you see." Nathan stepped into the salon, his heart pounding. The familiar scent of shampoo and hairspray filled the air, but the scene before him was anything but ordinary. In the back of the salon, Vanessa stood close to a man Nathan didn't recognize. A tall, well-dressed client who appeared to be in his early 40s. They weren't just talking. The man's hand was on Vanessa's waist, and their faces were far too close. Nathan froze as he watched Vanessa lean in, her lips brushing against the man's in a kiss. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. "Vanessa?" Nathan's voice rang out, sharp and incredulous. The two of them sprang apart, their expressions a mixture of shock and guilt. The man stepped back, clearing his throat awkwardly, while Vanessa's face turned pale. "Nathan," she stammered, "what are you doing here?" "I think I should ask you that," Nathan said, his voice trembling with anger. "What the hell is going on?" The other stylists and clients had stopped what they were doing, the salon now deathly silent. Trish stood near the door, her arms crossed as she glared at Vanessa. I can explain," Vanessa began, her voice shaky. "Explain?" Nathan said, his voice rising. "I just watched you kiss another man, Vanessa. What is there to explain?" A chaotic exit. The man, clearly uncomfortable, tried to excuse himself. "Look, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. Don't even think about walking out of here," Nathan snapped, his glare cutting through him. "Who the hell are you?" The man hesitated. "I'm a client. That's all." "A client?" Nathan laughed bitterly. "Funny, I didn't know kissing the stylist was part of the package." Vanessa stepped forward, her voice desperate. "Nathan, please. Let's talk about this at home." "No," Nathan said firmly. "We're going to talk about it right here. In front of everyone." Tears welled in Vanessa's eyes as she realized there was no escape. "It was a mistake," she said. "It didn't mean anything." Nathan shook his head, his hands clenched into fists. "A mistake? You don't accidentally kiss someone, Vanessa. How long has this been going on?" She hesitated, her silence speaking volumes. Nathan turned to the man. "Answer me. How long?" The man shifted uncomfortably. "A few weeks." The words hit Nathan like a punch to the gut. He stared at Vanessa, his voice breaking. "You've been sneaking around with him for weeks? While I was at home, trusting you." "I'm sorry," Vanessa whispered, tears streaming down her face. Nathan took a deep breath, his emotions threatening to overwhelm him. Sorry doesn't cut it, Vanessa. We're done. Nathan stormed out of the salon, leaving Vanessa sobbing in the middle of the floor. Trish followed him to the parking lot, her expression filled with sympathy. Nathan, I'm so sorry, she said. I had no idea she was doing this until today. Thanks for calling me, Nathan said, his voice hollow. I needed to know. Trish nodded. If you need anything, let me know, okay? Nathan nodded before getting into his car. As he drove away, the weight of what he had just witnessed began to settle on his shoulders. His marriage was over. The drive home from the salon was a blur. Nathan's mind raced as the shock of what he had seen slowly gave way to a flood of emotions. Anger, sadness, confusion, and disbelief. He pulled into the driveway of the house he and Vanessa had shared for years, but couldn't bring himself to go inside. Instead, he sat in the car, staring at the front door, replaying the scene in the salon over and over in his mind. The sight of Vanessa kissing that man, the guilt in her eyes, the way she had hesitated when he asked how long it had been going on, it all felt like a bad dream. Nathan eventually called his brother, Eric. He needed someone to talk to, someone who could help him make sense of what had just happened. Eric, Nathan said when his brother picked up. His voice was trembling. I need to come over. Of course, Eric said immediately. What's going on? You sound awful. I'll explain when I get there, Nathan said before hanging up. Eric lived about 10 minutes away, and by the time Nathan arrived, he was holding himself together by a thread. Eric opened the door and immediately saw the look on his brother's face. Nate, what happened? Eric asked, his concern palpable. Nathan stepped inside, his hands shaking. Vanessa, she's been cheating on me. Eric's eyes widened. What? Are you serious? I caught her, Nathan said, his voice breaking, at her salon. She was kissing a client. Eric's face hardened. That's unbelievable. I'm so sorry, man. Come in, sit down. Nathan sat on the couch, staring at the floor as he recounted the events of the afternoon. Eric listened quietly, letting him vent without interruption. I feel like such an idiot, Nathan said, his voice thick with emotion. I trusted her. I never thought she'd do something like this. This isn't on you, Eric said firmly. She's the one who broke your trust. You didn't do anything wrong. But why? Nathan asked, his voice cracking. Why would she throw everything away for some guy she barely knows? Eric shook his head. Some people are just selfish, Nate. They don't think about the damage they're causing until it's too late. Nathan nodded, though the explanation did little to ease the ache in his chest. The next morning, Nathan woke to find a dozen missed calls and text messages from Vanessa. Vanessa, Nathan, please come home. We need to talk. Vanessa, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. Please give me a chance to explain. Vanessa, I can't lose you. Please don't do this. Nathan stared at the messages, his jaw tightening. He didn't reply. Later that day, Nathan decided to return to the house to gather some of his things. When he arrived, Vanessa was sitting on the couch, her face pale and tear-streaked. She stood as soon as he walked in. Nathan, she said, her voice trembling. Thank God you're here. I've been going out of my mind. Nathan ignored her, walking past her and heading to the bedroom. Vanessa followed, desperation in her voice. Please, Nathan, just talk to me, she begged. He turned to face her, his expression cold. Talk? You mean like how you were talking to that guy at the salon? Vanessa flinched. It wasn't what it looked like. Don't lie to me, Nathan snapped. I saw everything, Vanessa. You kissed him. And when I asked how long it had been going on, you didn't even deny it. She began to cry, tears streaming down her face. I made a mistake, she said. I wasn't thinking clearly. It didn't mean anything. Nathan laughed bitterly. It didn't mean anything? You threw away our marriage for something that didn't mean anything? I was feeling lonely, Vanessa said, her voice breaking. You've been so busy with work lately and I just wanted to feel noticed. Nathan stared at her, his anger boiling over. So your solution was to cheat? To betray me? You couldn't just talk to me? Vanessa sobbed harder. I know I screwed up. I hate myself for what I did. But I love you, Nathan. Please don't throw us away. He shook his head, his expression hard. You threw us away, Vanessa. Not me. Nathan packed a bag and left the house without another word. As he drove away, he felt a mixture of relief and heartbreak. He knew he had made the right decision, but that didn't make it any easier. He wasn't sure what the future held, but one thing was certain. He couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies. Like the video to support Nathan. Nathan's decision to leave the house set off a chain reaction that neither he nor Vanessa could have predicted. While Nathan began the process of rebuilding his life, Vanessa was left to face the consequences of her actions, alone. The silence in the house was deafening. Vanessa paced the living room, her mind racing as she replayed the confrontation with Nathan. She had never seen him so angry, so distant. The look in his eyes when he walked out the door was something she wouldn't forget. It was as if he no longer recognized her. She tried calling him again, but it went straight to voicemail. Nathan seeks legal advice. Meanwhile, Nathan was taking the first steps toward ending his marriage. He met with a divorce attorney, a sharp and confident woman named Julia, who immediately put him at ease. Infidelity is a tough thing to go through, Julia said as she reviewed the details of Nathan's case. But the good news is, if you want to pursue this, you have a strong case. Nathan nodded. I have proof of the affair. My wife's coworker called me to the salon, and I saw everything. Julia leaned back in her chair. Good. That evidence will be useful if this goes to court. My advice is to document everything, texts, emails, financial records. The more information we have, the better. Nathan left her office feeling a small sense of control for the first time since his world had been turned upside down. News of Vanessa's affair spread quickly, thanks to Trish. Though she hadn't intended to gossip, the story of Nathan catching Vanessa at the salon was too juicy to keep to herself. Soon, the whispers began. Did you hear about Vanessa? She cheated on Nathan at her own salon. Can you believe that? I always thought they were such a perfect couple. Vanessa began to notice the judgmental stares from her coworkers and clients. Regulars who had once requested her specifically started canceling appointments. Her boss pulled her aside one afternoon, his expression serious. Vanessa, we've had some complaints, he said. Clients are uncomfortable with the rumors going around. I think it's best if you take a leave of absence for now. Vanessa felt the floor drop out from under her. A leave of absence? For how long? Until things cool down, he said. I'm sorry, Vanessa, but we can't afford to lose more clients. Nathan found comfort in the support of his brother, Eric, and his small circle of friends. Eric had been checking in regularly, encouraging Nathan to focus on himself and his future. You did the right thing, man, Eric said over beers one evening. She betrayed your trust. You deserve better than that. Nathan nodded, though the pain of the betrayal still lingered. I just don't understand why she did it. We had a good life, didn't we? You did, Eric said. But some people don't appreciate what they have. That's on her, not you. Nathan took another sip of his beer, letting the words sink in. That night, Nathan sat in Eric's guest room and read Vanessa's letter. Her words were raw and emotional, filled with regret and apologies. Nathan, there aren't enough words to express how sorry I am for what I did to you. You were everything to me, my partner, my best friend, my safe place. And I ruined it. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I will regret what I did for the rest of my life. Losing you is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and it's all my fault. If there's any chance, no matter how small, that we could start over, I would do anything to make it right. But if that's not possible, I hope you find happiness again. You deserve that, and so much more. I'm sorry, Nathan. I'll always love you. Vanessa. Nathan folded the letter and placed it in his bag. He felt no anger as he read her words, only a deep, hollow sadness. While Nathan worked toward rebuilding his life, Vanessa's world began to fall apart. Her once thriving career, her social circle, and the life she had built with Nathan were unraveling. Everywhere she turned, she was met with the consequences of her actions, and the realization of what she had thrown away consumed her. One afternoon, in a moment of desperation, Vanessa called her mother. Hi, Mom, she said, her voice shaky. Vanessa, her mother replied curtly. What do you want? Vanessa flinched at the coldness in her tone. I wanted to talk. Things have been hard lately, and I could really use someone to talk to. Her mother sighed. Vanessa, I don't know what to say to you. You had a good man, a good life, and you threw it all away. I warned you not to take Nathan for granted, and now look where you are. I know I messed up, Vanessa said, tears streaming down her face. But can't you just be there for me? Her mother's voice softened slightly but remained firm. Vanessa, you need to take responsibility for your actions. No one can fix this for you but you. The call ended, leaving Vanessa feeling even more alone. Nathan had officially moved out of the house and into a modest apartment across town. It wasn't much, but it felt like a fresh start. He filled the space with new furniture and small touches that reflected his personality, things he hadn't had the freedom to choose in the home he had shared with Vanessa. The divorce proceedings were moving quickly, thanks to the overwhelming evidence of infidelity. His lawyer assured him that he would come out of the process in a strong position, financially and emotionally. With her career on hold and her income drying up, Vanessa began to struggle financially. The mortgage payments on the house were overwhelming, and she quickly fell behind. Bills began piling up, and the calls from creditors became a daily occurrence. Vanessa tried to find work at other salons, but her reputation had followed her. No one wanted to hire a stylist whose personal scandal had become public knowledge. One by one, the pieces of her life fell away. One evening, Nathan stopped by the house to collect the last of his belongings. He had arranged for Vanessa to be out during his visit, but when he arrived, he found her sitting on the front porch. Nathan, she said, standing as he approached. I thought we agreed you wouldn't be here, he said, his tone cool. I know, Vanessa said, but I needed to see you. Please, just hear me out. Nathan sighed. I don't think there's anything left to say. There is, she insisted. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know how much I regret what I did. Every single day, I think about how I destroyed us, and I hate myself for it. Nathan's expression softened slightly, but his voice remained firm. Vanessa, I believe you're sorry, but that doesn't change what happened. You broke my trust, and that's not something I can ever get back. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. I understand. I hope one day you can think of me without hating me. Nathan hesitated, then said, I don't hate you, Vanessa, but I can't love you anymore either. He stepped inside, leaving her on the porch as the door closed behind him. A few weeks later, Vanessa received notice that the house was being foreclosed on. With no income and no support system, she had no choice but to pack her belongings and leave. The once beautiful home that had been the backdrop to her life with Nathan now stood empty, a shell of what it had once been. Vanessa moved into a small, run-down apartment on the outskirts of town. The walls were thin, the neighborhood was noisy, and the sense of loss weighed heavily on her. While Vanessa's life continued to unravel, Nathan was thriving. He had secured a promotion at work, which came with a pay raise and the opportunity to lead a new project. He had also started dating again, though cautiously. His connection with one woman, Lauren, showed promise. She was kind, understanding, and patient, a stark contrast to the betrayal he had endured with Vanessa. One evening, as Nathan and Lauren walked through the park, she asked him about his past. It's been a rough year, Nathan admitted, but I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. Lauren smiled, squeezing his hand. You deserve happiness, Nathan. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Vanessa's life was crumbling at an accelerating pace. The guilt of her betrayal, combined with the isolation she faced and the financial turmoil she found herself in, pushed her closer to the edge. At the same time, Nathan was moving forward with his life, the distance between them growing wider with every passing day. Vanessa's small apartment felt suffocating. The boxes she had hastily packed from the house remained stacked in the corners, untouched. It wasn't just a home she had lost. It was a life she had shared with Nathan, a future she had taken for granted. Her days were a haze of regret and self-loathing. Job applications went unanswered, and her bank account was dwindling rapidly. One evening, Vanessa sat at the kitchen table, staring at a collection notice that had come in the mail. Tears blurred her vision as she realized she couldn't afford the minimum payment. In her desperation, She tried reaching out to Nathan again. She picked up her phone and dialed his number, but it went straight to voicemail. "Nathan," she said, her voice trembling, "I know you don't want to hear from me, but I don't know who else to turn to. I'm struggling and I need someone to talk to. Please, if you can find it in your heart to call me back, I'd appreciate it." She ended the call, but deep down, she knew he wouldn't respond. While Vanessa was drowning, Nathan was thriving. His relationship with Lauren had deepened, and for the first time since the divorce began, he felt a sense of peace. One afternoon, as he and Lauren walked through the farmer's market, she asked him about his marriage. "Do you ever regret leaving her?" Lauren asked gently. Nathan shook his head. "No, I regret what happened, but not the decision to leave. She made her choices, and I had to make mine." Lauren nodded, squeezing his hand. "I'm glad you did. You deserve a fresh start." Vanessa's financial situation reached its breaking point when she received an eviction notice. She had fallen behind on rent for 2 consecutive months, and her landlord was unwilling to grant her any extensions. She packed what little she had left and moved into a cheap motel, the walls paper-thin and the carpet stained. It was a far cry from the beautiful home she had once shared with Nathan. As she lay on the lumpy motel bed that night, Vanessa realized just how far she had fallen. The life she had once taken for granted was gone, replaced by a hollow existence filled with regret and pain. Nathan, meanwhile, had found the closure he needed. The divorce was finalized, and the legal proceedings had gone entirely in his favor. He had kept the house and most of their shared assets, while Vanessa was left with nothing but her personal belongings. One afternoon, Nathan decided to return to the house to reflect on how far he had come. The memories of his life with Vanessa were still present, but they no longer carried the same weight. As he stood in the living room, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. This chapter of his life was finally over. Desperate for closure of her own, Vanessa wrote Nathan one final letter. "Nathan, this will be the last time I reach out to you. I know I've hurt you beyond measure, and I know I have no right to ask for forgiveness, but I wanted you to know how deeply sorry I am. I've lost everything, our home, our friends, my job, and I know I have no one to blame but myself. I don't expect you to respond to this letter, but I needed you to know that not a day goes by when I don't regret what I did. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away. I hope you found happiness again. You deserve it. Vanessa." Nathan received the letter a few days later. He read it once, folded it, and placed it in a drawer. He didn't feel anger or pity, just a quiet sense of finality. While Nathan moved forward, building a new life filled with hope and possibility, Vanessa continued to sink further into despair. The choices she had made had left her alone and broken, with no clear way out. For both of them, the marriage they had once shared was a distant memory, a life destroyed by betrayal and its consequences. The lives of Nathan and Vanessa had diverged completely. Nathan's steady progress and Vanessa's spiraling descent painted a stark contrast, illustrating the full weight of betrayal and the choices that followed. Nathan's relationship with Lauren flourished over the following months. Though he had been cautious about letting someone new into his life, Lauren's unwavering kindness and patience helped him break through the emotional walls he had built. One evening, Nathan and Lauren shared a quiet dinner at his apartment. As they sat on the couch afterward, sipping wine, Nathan found himself opening up in a way he hadn't in years. "You know," he began, "for the longest time, I thought I'd never trust anyone again. What Vanessa did, it shattered me." Lauren reached for his hand, her touch gentle. "I'm so sorry you went through that." Nathan nodded. "But meeting you, it's reminded me that not everyone is like her. There are good people out there, people worth trusting." Lauren smiled, her eyes shining. "And you're one of them, Nathan." For the first time since his marriage ended, Nathan felt truly at peace. Vanessa's life had devolved into pure survival. Living in the cheap motel, working menial jobs just to pay for the bare essentials, she was a shadow of the confident woman she had once been. Her attempts to rebuild her career were futile. No salon wanted to hire someone whose personal drama had spilled into their professional life, and her dwindling funds left her with few options. Every memory of Nathan haunted her. Their morning coffee routines, their inside jokes, the way he had always supported her dreams. She had taken all of it for granted, and now it was gone forever. One day, while walking through town, Vanessa spotted Nathan and Lauren together at a coffee shop. They were sitting by the window, laughing and talking with an ease that made Vanessa's chest ache. She froze, her breath catching in her throat. Nathan looked happy, happier than she had seen him in years. After the coffee shop, Lauren asked Nathan about his thoughts on Vanessa. "Do you ever think about her?" she asked gently. "Sometimes," Nathan admitted. "Not in the way I used to, though. I don't feel angry anymore. I just feel sad. For what we lost, and for the person she became." Lauren nodded, squeezing his hand. "You're a good man, Nathan. Not everyone would have that kind of perspective." "It took time," he said. "But I've learned that holding on to anger doesn't help. It only keeps you stuck in the past. And I don't want to live there anymore." With no one left to turn to and her financial situation worsening, Vanessa was evicted from the motel. She ended up at a women's shelter, sharing a crowded room with strangers and living off donated meals. The vibrant, confident woman she had once been was gone. In her place was someone she barely recognized, a woman consumed by regret, weighed down by the choices she had made and the life she had thrown away. Every day, she thought about Nathan. She wondered if he was happy, if he had found someone new, if he ever thought about her. The answers didn't matter, though. What mattered was that she had lost him, and she had no one to blame but herself. Nathan and Vanessa's lives could not have been more different. Nathan was thriving. His relationship with Lauren was growing stronger, his career was flourishing, and he had found a sense of purpose in helping others through volunteering. Vanessa, on the other hand, was living a life of quiet despair. She had lost her career, her home, her friends, and the man who had once been her greatest source of love and support. In the end, the choices they made, Nathan's to leave and rebuild, and Vanessa's to betray and crumble, define their futures. Thank you for listening to the story to the end. Please like, share your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel.